Hey guys, welcome to episode 6 of the Blue Mouse podcast. My name's Emily and I'm a full-time knitwear designer from Columbus, Ohio. If this is your first episode, welcome. I talk all about knitting and knitwear design in this podcast, and if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. I'm excited to be back, guys. I feel like it's been a really long time. I know that the last episode came out, I think 2 weeks ago, but I filmed it like over 3 weeks ago, so it feels like it's been ages since we've talked. And I don't know that my whip pile reflects that it's been that long, but I don't know. I'm excited to be here to chat with you guys. So I really want you to join in the conversation. So please comment below during any point in this video and let's just start a conversation. Or you can also find me on Instagram as the Blue Mouse with an underscore at the end. And we also have 2 Ravelry groups. So there's one that is for my knitting patterns. So if you have any questions about patterns or if you need help or anything like that, that is the place to go. And it's also a great place to share your photos of your whips or your finished objects. I would love to see those. But then there's also the podcast Ravelry group. So if you want to find show notes or ask questions, there is a thread for asking questions that I will answer on the podcast. And then I am going to be hosting a knit-along in probably about a month or so. And then there also will be giveaways in the future and things in that Ravelry group. So if you're interested in either of those are on Ravelry and I'll have them linked down below in the description. So yeah, if you want to join in the conversation, those are the best places to do it. I'm most active here and on Instagram. I also have a newsletter if you want to stay up to date with new podcast episodes, new patterns, and just kind of fun things like that. I'm just about to send out a new newsletter, so if you want to sign up, now would be a good time. And yeah, so I'm going to start out with a little bit of a life update, just talking about non-knitting related things. So if that's not something you're interested in, there are time codes in the description box. You can go ahead and skip to whatever you want. But I really like podcasts that start out with the podcaster talking about their life. I love it. I want to know about their life and I want to get to know who they are and see, just what they do in their off time and just know more about them. So that's how I'm going to kind of format this podcast. I've kind of been doing that in the past, but I want to make a point of it every time. Alright, so life updates, I guess. It's been about 3 weeks. I'm trying to think what has even happened. Well, firstly, there's the OML, or Our Maker Life, event this weekend. And I'm going. I don't know if any of you guys are going, but please let me know if you are. I'm doing the trolley local yarn shop ride on Friday and then also the main event on Saturday. So I don't know if you're going. I'm really, really excited. Last year was amazing. I was so nervous last year. Oh my gosh. I'm terrified of groups of people and crowds. So going to Toronto and walking into that event on my own was terrifying. Oh my gosh. But thankfully I ran into some people in line that I recognized because, we're friends on Instagram. It was just totally an answered prayer that I was able to sit down next to Janine and Ashley, so Knits and Knots Winnipeg and Ashley Erica Designs. So I sat down next to them and we just hung out the whole day and chatted, and I really got to know them, which was incredible. I had so much fun getting to know those girls, and it's just really fun to be able to meet people who you know online, but meet them in real life and actually get to chat with them and give them a hug, and it's so much fun. I can't wait for this year's. And actually what's really cool is Janine is going to be staying with me. We're going to be going to the event together. So it's just kind of cool how you can build lasting friendships at things like this, which I don't know if that sounds cheesy, but I believe it. I think that will happen this year, and hopefully I'll be able to go next year. But we'll have to see where it's at, because I think I could see it being in New York next year, but I could also see it being on the West Coast. And if it's on the West Coast, flights are expensive and I won't be going. if I'm being honest. But it's in Chicago this year, which is about 6 to 6.5 hour drive for me. But we're leaving on Thursday, and we're staying with family halfway there. So it'll only be about a 3.5 hour drive on Friday morning, which isn't bad. I'm used to that. I visit family all the time that live like 4.5 hours away, so 3.5 is no problem. So yeah, I'm really excited. It was originally going to be me and my mom going, and it was going to be kind of like a girls' weekend trip. But then I realized on Saturday I'm going to be gone all day. It starts early in the morning, goes to, early evening or about dinner time. And I remember last year people went out afterwards, so I'll probably go out with people afterwards. And then, I don't know, it just didn't make sense for it to be a girls' trip with the two of us when I wouldn't be there all day Saturday. So my dad hopped on board. So my parents and I are going, and they're just going to go off and run around and explore the city and do whatever while the event's happening. And that actually works out perfectly because then I don't have to feel guilty about going to the trolley event on Friday, which is really, really exciting. I can't wait. I'm really, really too excited about that. I know that a bunch of my friends are going, and a lot of them I haven't seen in person, so I'm excited to get to hug them and chat with them in real life. And I don't know, there's something really exciting about riding in a trolley. I did it in San Francisco a few years ago, and I loved it, and I don't know, it's fun. I mean, I realize it's a different kind of trolley than the ones in San Francisco, but I did kind of Google what a trolley tour in Chicago looks like, just so I could see like what the trolley might look like, and it looks pretty cool. I'm excited. So I think there's like 30 some of us on that tour, and we're going to different local yarn shops, and they're like bussing us around in this trolley, and I don't know. I think it'll be really, really fun. I don't really have the budget left to like go on a shopping spree at these stores, but it's more the experience of getting to hang out with people. That's why I bought a ticket. I'll have to use some serious restraint at the stores, which you guys might be proud of me. My yarn acquisitions, really small. It's only 2 things. That's really good compared to what it has been. So yeah, I'm excited. I am hoping to maybe get 1 skein of hedgehog fibers or something that I haven't seen locally but I've seen on podcasts like a million times. So either hedgehog fibers or labianime. But I looked online for their stockists and I couldn't find any information. So I have no idea if they even stock in local yarn shops or not, or very many of them. But we're going to, I think, 3 or 4 of them on Friday. So I'm really excited. A bunch of you I know are going, and I cannot wait. It's going to be a blast. That's probably the biggest life thing that's going to be happening that also mixes in with knitting. I'm trying to think what else has happened. Just lots of fun group things, family, friends, summer events, that kind of stuff. So my boyfriend and I over the weekend joked that we unlocked a new achievement in our relationship because we found this really great date night idea. So we got a pizza and we drove down by the river, and there was a little park area. So the parking lot was pretty much right up against the river. So we backed up into it and then opened the trunk, and he's got this SUV. So we just folded up the back seats and we put the pizza back there, and we turned the AC on and just sat in the back of his car and ate pizza and watched people boating on the river and just talked for hours. It was incredible. So if you're looking for a good date night activity, highly recommend that. It's cheap, but it's a lot of fun. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's pretty much it for life updates. So thanks for sticking around. I know that some people don't care about this kind of stuff. I totally get that. So we'll get into the knitting goodness now. I actually want to answer one of the podcast questions that I got in our Ravelry group. So I'll do that first, and then we'll get into the knitting stuff. So Abby, who has the More Knits podcast, and she's also more.knits on Instagram. Do you have any tips for photographing your finished projects and or taking pattern photos? That's always the hardest part for me, even though I have a photography background. So I either have a family member do it for free, or I pay like a college student friend of mine who does photography a little bit of money to take my photos. And I do all the editing myself. But recently I've been really kind of pinching my pennies because I'm paying more for tech editing than I used to, or I never used to do tech editing. So now that I'm having to pay for it, I'm trying to just save money wherever I can. So what I've been doing is I've just been taking my tripod and I've been going out into my backyard and just taking photos. So I have this is my boyfriend's camera that I'm recording on, and it's also the one that I use to take my pattern photos by myself, because there's an app that I can connect on my phone to my camera. So I can see the screen of the camera and take photos remotely, but you can also get cheap remotes for most cameras or your phone on like Amazon. So you don't need like a big fancy camera. You can use your phone and either use like the timer setting, or you can use a remote. That's what I do, is I just set it up on a tripod and I position it where I want it, and I kind of look on my phone if it's, set up right. So I just take like a boatload of photos and then I go through and pick maybe 10 that I like at the end. So that's how I do it, and I edit in Lightroom, which I think you can get for like $10 a month if you're needing something to edit on. Lightroom is incredible. I've been using it for like 6 years. It's amazing. It's so easy to use, and yeah. So that's how I do it. I hope that kind of gives you an answer to your question. But I would definitely recommend the tripod, some sort of camera, and the remote for taking your own photos. That way it's really simple. And again, it doesn't have to be a big fancy camera. It could be a DSLR, it could be your phone, it could be a point and shoot, it could be anything that you have available. Either use a remote that you get online or set up a timer. So now on to the knitting related topics. So I have 2 yarn acquisitions and 1 bag acquisition, and that's it. And one of the yarn acquisitions is for a gift. So it's like, that doesn't even count, right? So actually I have 2 pin acquisitions now that I think about it. So this is from the Little Lionhead Knits, and I love it. So this is her colorway that's called Across the Great Divide, and it's an 85-15 superwash merino nylon blend with 437 yards per 100 grams. Isn't that just stunning? And she's got this cute little stamp on the tag. So this is a gift skein of yarn, or it will become a gift. I'm going to knit it up into a pair of socks for a friend of mine. I'm putting together a little gift package. So once that's all put together, I'll film a little bit of it to show you what the little package is, and then once it's gotten to where it needs to be, then I'll add that to like a podcast episode or something. But anyway, this yarn is stunning, and I think the colorway is right up her alley. She uses a lot of oranges, so I'm hoping this will be good. And then, of course, none of you will probably be surprised if you've been watching the podcast, I got a Hello Stella skein. So this is a one-of-a-kind colorway, and this is an 80-20 blend. So it's a one-of-a-kind in her fingering weight, and it comes with 426 yards. So this will probably become a pair of socks for myself because I really like it. So I went on her website originally just to get her new pin. So she did a collaboration with Twill and Print. I don't know if you can see, it says Hello Beautiful, Hello Stella. So I went online just to get the pin, but then for shipping I was like, I might as well get a skein of yarn. If I'm gonna have to pay, so much for shipping from Canada, better make it worth it. So I did. and I'm very, very happy with this color. I've been on a pretty purple kick lately. So yeah, I'm excited to turn these into a pair of socks for myself at some point. And I'm not really a huge pin person. I mean, I like them. I think they're cool. I'm not huge into them. I'm not obsessed with them. I like them. They're cool. I have no idea what to do with them because I don't want to put them on project bags. But I know some people do that, and I think it looks cool, but I also think it makes them heavy and kind of, I don't know, you might lose the pin. I'm gonna have to find some way to start displaying them because I have another one. So this is from So Sweet Violet. What's her name? Mabel? So her name is Jules, who runs So Sweet Violet. But I think her dog's name, which this is based off of, is named Mabel, I think. So it's just this adorable little Whippet pin. But I have a little Italian Greyhound, and this looks just like him. So maybe at the end I'll bring him in and I'll show you the comparison. But for now he's sleeping and I'm just going to let him be. So then I have a bag acquisition. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to pronounce her name. So Hannah from Hannah on the Road podcast makes project bags. So I got her large sweater-sized one, which you can see is huge and it's perfect, and I love it. So it's already stuffed full with like 2 sweaters at the moment, but yeah, it comes with pockets on the inside, and it's just this gorgeous kind of woolly bottom, which I didn't realize. I did not read the listing, obviously. I didn't realize that this was wool, but I like it. It's beautiful. It's this like beautiful heathered gray, and then you just get this like linen print here, and a nice little zipper with a leather pull, or what looks like leather. You get this little clip on the inside. She said that's good for like if you have your keys in your project bag, or some people like to put their yarn through something like that so they can keep their yarn in the bag and it'll thread out through that little loop. And there's 2 big pockets, and this is her name. I will butcher it if I try and say it. Hannah-Lisa Hofferkamp. I know that she says it every time on her podcast, and I still don't know how to pronounce it. But she is hlhdesigns.com or Hannah on the Road on Instagram. So I'm very happy with that. I'm going to be taking that with me to Chicago. I've caught the project bag bug. I'm obsessed. I just want so many of them because I have so many ongoing whips. I want like project bags for like each, at least each group. It doesn't have to be for each project, but for each group of projects or something like that. So yeah, now I don't have any FOs, I don't think. But I do have kind of a sizable pile of whips, so we can start with that. So I'll start with the bigger projects first. So my sideways constructed cardigan that I'm making with the Koigu KPN yarn. I am about probably 3/4 of the way done. So I have my first one, which will not really look like much because the construction is weird, but it starts out with a sleeve, and it's not seamed yet at the moment. So the sleeves are not going to be this wide. I'm going to fold them over and seam up the side. So sleeve until you get to about here, and then this is the left front. So it'll be it'll hang over the front like this, and then I'll seam up the sides of the sleeve, and then seam the sides here closed. Here, see if I can do a better job of this. So I'm going to seam up the sides here, and this will be the front. It comes down like this, and then it'll be a sleeve, and then this is the back. And I still have this on a pair of needles because I'm going to do a 3-needle bind off up the back of this cardigan. So it's worked in 2 halves. That was 1 half, and then you make a nearly identical second half and you seam them up the back, or you do a 3-needle bind off up the back, and then you seam up the sides, and then you seam down the sleeves. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up around the waistband and do a little bit of a ribbed border, just to kind of give it a clean look and to kind of make it not so billowing, but kind of bring it in a little bit closer to your body. And I'm trying to have this done by Saturday, or actually by Thursday, because I'd like to have it blocked before I leave. So after the podcast, I think I'm going to just try and plug away on this and get it done. I have the longest bit done. The sleeve is the longest bit. So you start down here at the cuff, and then you work all the way up. And then what you do is you cast on at the beginning and end of the row. So this is the back. This will be the back because I'm going to wear it like this. So this side will be the front and this side will be the back. So I have all of the body to do. So I have to knit it up to this point, and then I bind off for the front and keep going a little bit on the back to where it'll meet that one, and then I'll do a 3-needle bind off and then block it. So I have a lot to do in the next couple days to get ready for this weekend, and I want to have this done because Koigu is one of the sponsors of OML this year, so they'll be there, and I want to kind of, have something to show them because it's taken me a long time to knit this. I've had to redo it so many times. And that's one thing I struggle with. I feel bad when I work with companies sometimes because it can take me a while to make something. Because a lot of times I start out with an idea when I work with a company and it never works out exactly how I want it. So things have to be tweaked, or I'm like, oh, that doesn't actually work with the way that I thought it would, so let's try and fix it. And it always works out in the end, but it never looks exactly how I thought it would in the beginning. Never works out, just that easily. So then it takes me a while, and I can kind of feel bad because I'm like, I know that you gave me this yarn, and I'm working on it, as fast as I can, but there's a process to it, and you can't really force it. There are times where it's like, I cannot look at that project for like a week because I'm so frustrated with it, or weeks. I have that with one of my next projects. It's like I had to put that down for like a month because I was so frustrated with it. But now I've picked it back up and I've restarted it and I love it. So it's a process, but I can feel bad because it takes a while, and I don't know. Nobody has said like, hey, you're taking way too long, but I'm like terrified of getting emails from people like, are you done yet? It's like, I'm trying. I'm really trying. It's a process. Speaking of that, my next sweater. So I had this one. I had made a lot of progress on this like a month ago. And then I got to the separating for the sleeves part, and I realized that I'd done it wrong. I needed to do more rows in between the eyelets. I think I'd done an odd number of rows, which works in the round, but then when you split for the sleeves and you begin working back and forth, you need an even number because you're doing, a front side and a back side, so 2. You need it to be divisible by 2. And so it's like when I had 7 rows in between the eyelets, it's like it wouldn't work because that would make an eyelet row on the wrong side, if that makes sense. So I had to restart it and make an even number of rows in between the eyelets. or the total amount of rows with the eyelets be an even row. I forget what it was, but this is what it looks like now. So I have separated for the sleeves and I've done the front. So this is the front, like this. And then I ran out of yarn. I took this on vacation with me, or not vacation, but I took this to visit family a few weekends ago, and I powered through it. I ripped it out that day and I balled up all my yarn that I was going to take, and I started this on the car ride, and by that night I had separated for the sleeves, I think, by that night. So this is a fast project, but then I ran out of yarn. So I have some here, but I didn't have any with me. So this is another thing I want to have done. I want to have this done within the next week or so, so I'll probably take this with me this weekend and work on the sleeves. But yeah, I'm really loving this one. And it's made with cotton too. It's made with Lion brand 24/7 cotton. It's really, really soft, and I'm excited. I think I'm going to take this with me to the beach in a couple months, and I think it'll be perfect for those kind of chilly nights where it's not freezing, but you just want a little bit of something to kind of block the wind. So that'll be perfect for that. But that's one of those things where they gave me that yarn probably 2.5, 3 months ago, and I'm still not done with it. So I'm kind of terrified I'm going to get an email like, "Are you done yet?" No, I had to put it away because I couldn't look at it for a while because I was so frustrated with it. But they haven't emailed me or anything, but I'm kind of terrified of it. So that is getting, me motivated to start on it. Anyway, this is my Piper cardigan by Libby Johnson, who has the Truly Myrtle podcast. It looks a lot more like something that I did last time. So it'll be about this high. So I've separated for the sleeves, which are right here, and I've done only a few rows underneath the sleeves. But then you have the cable detailing like this, and I do not know how to do a crochet provisional cast on. The one where you crochet a chain and then you go through the chain, the bottom loops or something, or the back bumps, and you pick up stitches. I don't know how to do that, apparently, because I think I showed this to you last time, but when I did that and then I ripped it out at the end and took those live stitches to go knitting the other way, they're all shifted over one leg, so half a stitch over than they should be. So it just kind of looks funky, which no one will notice but me, unless there's a really good knitter in the room when I'm wearing it. But so I'll have to learn how to do that properly if I make another one. But I haven't gotten a chance to work on that since really I separated for the sleeves, but I'm loving it. I've never done a seamless cardigan before, so I'm really enjoying the process. I love learning a new technique like that, where you can kind of wrap your head around how it works and then also get a finished object at the end, which is really, really nice. Because I really want to put out a few seamless cardigan patterns in the future, probably this fall or winter, but I don't know how they work. I don't fully understand how to do it. I feel like this has an even more unique construction than a lot, so I'm going to be doing a lot more research on that before I start my own, but this is a great pattern if you're looking for a fun knit. I find it really challenging, but not too difficult, where it's challenging because it's something I've never done before, so I just have to look up how to do it. It's okay, how do I do a crochet provisional cast on? How do I do this, or how do I do that? But it's not hard. I've never sat there being I have no idea what to do next. It makes sense. It's a very well written pattern. Okay, so I think those are all my big projects. So I'll do smaller projects and then all my sock whips. This is a new cast on. I cast this on a few days ago. This is it's going to be like a lacy tank top. But here's all I have so far. I don't know if you can kind of see that detailing. And I don't have like stitch markers. I only have the light bulb ones. And I love those, but I don't like them when I have to use like a million of them. If that makes sense, I like to use them as progress keepers more so than I do for stitch markers. There's something about them, I just don't really like them as stitch markers, but they're great for progress keepers. So I'm just using scraps of yarn, like a million of them, because I don't have any other stitch markers to use. But I'm really, really loving this. This is beautiful lace detailing. So it's going to be lacy, and then it'll be plain stockinette, and then when you separate for the sleeves, it'll still be stockinette, and then you'll get a little bit of a V-neck on the front and a little bit of a V-neck on the back, I think. But yeah, I'm loving this one. I'm hoping to get the lace detail done before I leave for OML so that I can just kind of work in stockinette in the round while I'm there, which I'm close. I'm about 3/4 of the way done with the lace. I love lace though. I know some people hate it, but I love it. And I think when you separate out your repeats with stitch markers, it makes it really, really easy to keep track of. So it's like I know that I'm not making any mistakes because I always have 16 stitches in between each marker. So that 16 stitch repeat wouldn't work if I had made a mistake. So I know after each stitch marker that I have not made a mistake, or I have. And for me, that cuts down on mistakes. I think I've made 2 mistakes which caused me to rip back maybe like 15 stitches or something. Like, it's not hard. It's pretty easy lace, especially with the stitch markers. And then, speaking of lace, I know that I don't have a lot to show for it at the moment, but this will be a shawl. It looks like a jumbled mess at the moment. A beautiful mess because this is my Woolberry Fiber Co. yarn, which is Redwood Forest. Isn't that gorgeous? Even though my cakes are all messed up. Sorry, Bethany, your yarn is gorgeous. It's really hard to see, but there's the little bit of a beginning of a shawl. So I also have a million scrap yarn stitch markers in between this because I'm trying to keep track of my lace repeats without making mistakes, and it does help. It helps with every project. So if you're ever working on lace, either flat or in the round, where you're repeating, I don't know, a good amount of stitches, or even not, even if it's only like 8 stitches, I'd still put stitch markers because you'll know if you've made a mistake pretty much right away. So there are over 500 stitches on here. It's like 520 something. So this is a shawl that I'm working from the bottom up. So you're starting with a maximum amount of stitches, and then, so how I'm going to do it is I'm working the edge border, so I'm working this lace border, and then I'm going to do short rows with garter, I think, in the middle, and you do the short rows a certain way that it kind of, it shapes it. So there's no decreasing in this shawl. You just work the border, and then you do the short rows in the middle, and it just kind of pulls it in on the edges, so it creates this crescent or half circle shape. So that is this one. I am loving it. It's a time-consuming project so far because it's working on size 3 needles, or US 3, which I don't know what that is in millimeters, I'm sorry. So US 3 with 500 plus stitches, it's a lot. But it'll be so worth it in the end. It's going to be stunning. So this is another shawl that I just kind of started on a whim the other night. But it's one of those ideas that when you get it and you love it, you just have to cast on. So I did a quick swatch before I went out for home church on Thursday. So I laid it out to dry. And by the time I got home, it's so hot upstairs in my house that it was already dry. So this is it. This is the start of the actual shawl, not the swatch. So this one has been a lot of work. I know it doesn't look like there's anything here, but that's because I've restarted it like at least 10 times. I'm not exaggerating. I have page after page of like ripped out attempts. So this is finally what I've settled on, and I do really like it. It's going to be a gradient shawl. So if you remember, I think from last episode, I had a purple gradient set. This is the light one, and I have the other ones in the other room, so I'll show you in another podcast episode when I get to the other colors. But yeah, it's going to be an asymmetrical shawl with a gradient fade. Yeah, I'm actually really happy with how it's turning out. After many, many times ripping out, I would get about this far and be like, no, it's not working. Rip it out. Do that again with something slightly different. And then I'd get about this far and be like, no, it's not working out. Rip it out. At least 10 times, if not closer to 15. It was a hard thing to do. But I think that I'm going to be happy with the way that it turns out. Although I do have to say that there's some like mental trap that I get stuck in when I'm designing, where I start designing something and it looks different than how I was envisioning it, and then I start to worry and be like, well, that doesn't look how it, I thought it would look, and that doesn't, that's probably not how this designer would do it or that designer would do it, and I do get trapped in that for a little while where I'm like, that's not how Andrea Mowry would probably do it. And then I have to step back and be like, okay, yeah, she might not do it that way. That's the point. The point isn't to copy people. The point is to make it your own. So if it's unique, it's unique. There are standards that designers follow. There are certain, shapes and constructions that people follow. But that doesn't mean that that's the only way that it can be done. There are plenty of people who've broken rules by doing things that are out of the box, but they've turned out really well. For example, Andrea Mowry's rose cardigan. The construction of that is really, really unique. It's made in like 4 quadrants, and it's constructed differently, and it's seamed differently, so it's just very unique. And that is kind of the point of designing, I think. It's not to be like, well, this person wouldn't do it this way, which is so easy to fall in. I fall into that all the time. But you just have to remind yourself that's not the point. It's your own. You can do whatever you want with it. It can look however you want. It does not have to look like a standard construction. It could look like anything. But the point is that you like it and it represents your unique style. And that's it. So what I was getting stuck in was that I wanted this lace detail here to go perfectly in the middle, or more towards this eyelets, but that doesn't work with the way that I'm constructing it. But I like it this way. The only reason I didn't like it was because I thought, that's not how these people would do it. But now I like it because I don't care how they would do it. This is how I would do it. That's something that I definitely fall into, and I also can get slowed down by thinking that something needs to be really intricate and really textured and cool looking, and it doesn't have to be. This is going to be a very plain, simple, potato chippy kind of pattern, and I think there's room for both. Sometimes I like an intricate pattern that I need to follow closely to make, and then other times I just kind of want to turn my brain off or be able to knit in a group of people and not have to worry about making mistakes. And that's where patterns like this come in handy, you know? There's room for both. There's nothing wrong with having a simple potato chippy kind of pattern, and there's nothing wrong with having an intricate kind of pattern. There's times when you're going to want one or the other, and there's certain people who only like one or the other. So it's good to have both. And then I have a ton of sock whips. Way too many. So I haven't made much progress on this one. I made a point to finish the gusset last night and do a little bit of work on the foot. So this is all I really have so far. It's this really nice ribbed pattern, and then I have a heel flap and gusset. So this is only as far as I am on the foot. Not very far, but I'm okay with that. It's a nice, simple pattern that I don't really have to think about while I'm working it. So now that the gusset's over, I can just kind of turn my brain off and go when I need to break. So this is using my May sock crate yarn. I love it. It's this really, really beautiful cashmerino blend. And it's got these really subtle speckles in it. So it's blue with these tiny speckles. And I love it. I'm hoping to have a little bit left over to maybe use for the cuff of another sock at some point or something. So there's that one. And I have not made any progress on my June sock crate yarn. So I don't know, I'm back to not really liking the 9-inch circulars. I was feeling alright about them for a few weeks, but now I'm back to like, I like Magic Loop. So it's just going to be one of those things that goes back and forth, I think. And then I started beginnings of a new sock. And this is all I have to show for it. But this is going to be the Fragment pattern by Helen Stewart, which was in Lina magazine, not this issue, but the one before it. So is that issue number 4, maybe? I don't think I have it in here. But yeah, I love this yarn. This is Explorer Knits and Fibers, and I can't remember the name of the colorway, but it's just this beautiful chocolate color. And I just wanted something kind of plain. I'm doing a lot of really kind of funky socks at the moment, and I wanted something really neutral and kind of simple. And then finally, I think this is finally, I'm knitting a pair of socks for a friend. I'm almost done. I'm about, I think, 2 inches before I do the toe. This is one of the finished ones, and then I just have to do the other one. So, yeah. This is another skein of Explorer Knits and Fibers. Sorry, I keep hesitating before I say that because she changed her name, but it is Explorer Knits and Fibers. So this is a very messy cake because I pull from the middle and it's kind of falling apart. Look at that. Oh my gosh. I am obsessed with this colorway. It looks beautiful. And this is actually, I think this is going to be a new sock knitting pattern of mine. So I have been trying a bunch of knitting patterns for socks, and I tried probably 2 or 3 for this one, and nothing quite fit what I wanted. So I just kind of took a vanilla sock and added a little bit of a twist to it. So I just added a little bit of detailing so it wasn't quite as plain. And I'm definitely going to tweak something before I would release the pattern. But I don't know, I'm really loving it. It's just the perfect blend of simple and intricate. Another pair I'm making for a friend with this yarn, I'm going to do the next version of this pattern. So I'm just going to keep practicing and practicing. And this yarn is Explorer Knits and Fibers, Thistles on a Mountain Trail, which, if you'll remember, my yoke sweater that I'm releasing in a little while has that colorway as the main part of the yoke. So I have a lot of that yarn and I'm obsessed with it. I want to make absolutely everything in it. I think it's one of the most beautiful colorways ever. So yes, I'm trying to have those done probably by tomorrow. I've only got like, a couple inches left. But yeah, I think that's it. That's everything I have. Which is a lot. It's a lot of whips. This is probably going to be a really long episode, so I apologize for that. But thank you for watching. Please comment below, join in the conversation. Find me on Instagram. Let's start chatting about things. I'd love to get to know you guys. So yeah, I'll see you in the comments or on Instagram, wherever you guys are. Yeah, I hope you have a very crafty, knitting, whatever you want, filled week. And I'll see you next time. I will be vlogging. Oh, it makes me so nervous, but I will be vlogging this weekend at Our Maker Life. So I'll do it on Friday and Saturday to give you kind of a, something to watch if you're not able to go, or something to look back on if you were able to go. I really don't like the idea of vlogging, but I know that I love to watch people's vlogs for events that I was not able to attend. So like the Edinburgh Yarn Festival this past spring, I think it was. I've seen, I think, every knitting podcaster's vlog of that event at least once. Just kind of living vicariously through them. So I want to be able to do that for you guys who aren't able to go. So as much as I hate the idea of like holding a camera and vlogging, it'll probably be less of me talking to the camera and more of just what's happening and talking to people, but we'll see. Yeah. Anyway, have a great week. I hope you get lots of knitting done, or crocheting done, or sewing, or whatever it is that you are interested in. Have a great week. I'll see you next time. Oh, and because I forgot, I'm adding this at the end. This is my pup, or my dog. I still call him a puppy, but he's not. He's 15 years old, so he's not a puppy. So when I say he looks just like this pin, I think he does. What do you think? Anyway, that's all. I forgot to do this, but I think he looks just like the pin, so I got the pin to kind of remember him, because he is 15. And sadly, I don't think we have that many more years left, so the pin will be a good reminder of him. And on that really depressing note, have a good week. I'll see you next time.